Hey, 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 Texas Study students. This is Coach Signs, welcoming you back to another one of our video lessons. Today's video lesson, we're going to talk about Chapter 5.2, and Spanish Explorers Come to Texas. Now, the first thing we're going to do today is we're going to ask ourselves, answering this question: did Christopher Columbus actually succeed? Now, if you think about it, guys, there's actually a national holiday that has that day on it. It's Columbus Day. We actually have that day off, and it's celebrated around the United States, Columbus Day, right? Now, we're also going to ask ourselves these series of 4 questions if he actually did succeed. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to answer these 4 questions to see, did Christopher Columbus actually succeed? So our first question we have here is, did he find a new route to China/Asia? Remember, he was looking for a route other than the Silk Route to find the spices and the silks of Asia. So did he actually do that? No, he did not. So we're going to mark it right there in red. Now, the next question we're going to ask ourselves is, did he bring diseases to the Americas? And yes, he did. The people, you got to remember that the people, the natives that lived in these areas, they weren't immune to anything. They only used to living amongst themselves. When the Europeans came over, when Christopher Columbus came over, they brought a lot of things that they did not have before here. One of the main ones being smallpox. That's right there. Smallpox, right? Now, smallpox are those little red dots that you get around your whole body. These people, these native tribes, they did not have one. They did not have these before. So when they came over, it just completely killed a lot of people off. So we'll just go ahead and put that right here in green. That, boom, he did bring a lot of diseases over. Now, a lot of you guys, when you were little, you went to the doctor when you were born, they gave you a shot, and you didn't get the smallpox. You never have, or some of you never got the smallpox at all, because we're immune to it. The people of Europe, they didn't have it. They didn't, what they would do, they were immune to that. They lived amongst themselves for so many years that they wouldn't get it, right? A lot of them wouldn't get it, but when they came over to the new land, they brought these with them. Now, the next question we're going to ask ourselves is, did he enslave, torture, and kill thousands of Taino natives or natives in themselves? And that is yes. Now, does that change the perspective of how you look at Christopher Columbus, thinking, oh man, he's a great explorer, he would never hurt a soul, all he was trying to do was explore new worlds? Yeah, but in doing so, as you can see in this picture here, he enslaved a lot of natives in the Caribbean and killed them and tortured them so that they could do a lot of things for the greater good, or for how we, what we talked about a video lesson previous, to bring glory to the Spanish country, to bring glory to the Queen. Now, our last question brings us to, did he discover a new world? Now, yes, he discovered a new world. For the people of Europe, this was a new world to be discovered, and they had never been there before. But to the natives, of course not. They had already lived there. Now, we've checked off 3 out of the 4 questions we ask ourselves, did Christopher Columbus succeed, right? Now, that is to form a matter of your own opinion, right? If he did succeed or if he did not. Now we're going to switch our attention to the first Spanish explorers of Texas. Now, the first Spanish explorer of Texas was Alonso Álvarez de Piñeda. In 1519, Piñeda became the first European to map the Texas coastline. As we can see here in this map, Piñeda took a trip starting from Jamaica, went all the way up through Cuba, on the coastline of Florida, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, all the way to the coast of Corpus Christi, and back to Jamaica. This was the route Piñeda ended up taking in 1519. The next one we're going to talk about is Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, right? Dude's name is Cowhead. I know. Pretty funny, right? Cabeza de Vaca. Well, it's true. But back in the day, people that had a name like that sorts were actually a higher rank in Mexico. Now, following a hurricane in 1528, Cabeza de Vaca, Mr. Cowhead himself, and his men landed in Galveston Bay, where they were captured by the Karankawa natives. Now, they had come all the way into Cuba and Santo Domingo, where they were staying, right, with Columbus's old establishment, old colony. They came up the Florida coastline all the way through Louisiana and landed in Galveston Bay. Now, as you can remember, the Karankawa natives were a tribe that was very warlike from our previous lessons. They liked to fight, right? They liked to actually get in there and dig it out and get in nasty in war, right? Now you're probably asking yourself, if the Karankawa natives were so rough and tough and they liked war, how in the world did Mr. Cowhead, Cabeza de Vaca, survive? Well, here you can see right here, guys. He actually, what happened was, he knew about a natural herb that would heal the natives and help them, right? Here you can see here as he's healing them. Now, what also he had learned, guys, was the fact that he knew how to perform a couple surgeries, how to heal people, the natives. So this, in return, allows them to be able to survive. He, Mr. Cabeza de Vaca, and his crew, or as you guys like to call it, his squad, was able to stay alive, and because of Cabeza de Vaca, his healing powers and the way he was able to perform surgeries and able to heal the natives. Now, as a result of this, he's able to become the first European to see the interior of Texas. Now, as you can see in this map, not only was he there, but he comes down into the Rio Grande Valley, into Monterrey, Ojinawa, and all the way to Chihuahua, and all the way into the interior of Mexico City. He's the first European to actually travel the interior of North America. Now, as Cabeza de Vaca was doing this traveling with the Karankawas, right, he was writing down, taking notes of everything that's coming through, everything that he was watching, seeing, learning, experiencing. He was writing this down. In return, he called these findings, he put them together, wrote a book on it called La Relación. As we can see there, here's a picture of it right here, an actual copy of what it looked like. Cabeza de Vaca became the first European to write about Texas in his book, La Relación. Now, here's a quick question for you guys. Now, if you remember from our previous lessons, our vocabulary, right? Now, what his book right here, as you can see it, would it be considered a primary or a secondary source? So, what do you guys think? Come on, tell me. That's right. It'd be a primary source because he wrote it himself. The first source, he is exactly what he experienced. Now, in his book, he wrote about the natives and their fertile soil and how the many findings they did as he experienced his travels, right? Now, one thing he wrote about was these humpbacked cows that they did not have in Europe. He would write about these, exquisite animal that had a big old hump on it that kind of looked like a cow. And what do you think it was? That's right, it was the buffalo. In Europe, they didn't have these kind of things. They didn't have this kind of animal with the horns like that and the so much fur and the hump on the top, right? So he wrote about that. That's why he called it the humpbacked cow, right? So this is what he discovered and he wrote about in his findings. Now, with his writings, he also wrote about the 7 cities of Cibola. Now, when Cabeza de Vaca returned to Spain, he had told of the legends of the 7 cities of Cibola that he had heard from the Karankawas. Now, the Karankawas talked to him and really, just really sold him on these 7 cities of Cibola. They were legends of 7 cities of pure gold. Just of pure gold, like as you can see in this picture, right? Pure gold. Now, after he had traveled through the interiors of Mexico and left through Mexico City back to Spain, he told the people of Spain of these cities. Now, with these tales, the cities of gold inspired more Europeans to come to the New World and to explore and to see, hey, if it's true, I want some of this piece. But of course, remember, they were legends, right? They were legends. They weren't true. Now, after Columbus, after Pineda, and after Cabeza de Vaca, the Spanish had 3 main motivations to explore the New World. Now, the Spanish had the 3 main motivations, right, as you can see here, which are known as the 3 Gs. Now, the first one of the 3 Gs that they were looking for, and we had talked about in the previous lessons, right, was gold. The Spanish wanted to increase their global wealth. They wanted the moolah, guys. They wanted the green, right? What we call now green. But back then, guys, gold was where it's at. That's exactly what they wanted. They wanted to come to the New World and make as much gold as possible. Now, the second G of the three G's is glory. Expeditions were led by Spanish conquistadores looking for fame for themselves. Fame also means glory for themselves. That's exactly what they wanted. As you can see here, we have a picture of Mr. Johnny Manziel, formerly known as Mr. Football, right? Back then when he was good. He's been in the newspaper and the media a lot about how he's played and how horrible he's acted when he's outside of football, right? And just bringing more and more attention to himself. That's all he's done. And that's exactly what these expeditions were, guys. They were led by the Spanish conquistadors to bring fame, to bring them money, to bring them all the praise of what they had done in the New World so they could be glorified when they go back home. The last of the three G's is God. Now, the Catholic Church agreed to help support, that means give money and pay for these expeditions to convert native Texans to Catholicism and to increase the wealth of the church. Now, the conquistadores needed the Catholic Church to actually support these expeditions, right? They convinced the Catholic Church that converting the natives in the New World would actually bring them wealth, right? And increase Catholicism. So this powerhouse, the Catholic Church was, that had a lot of money. They actually agreed to fund these trips in order, the conquistadors convinced them, thinking, hey, we're going to go glorify God, right? But it was actually, the Catholic Church said, you know what, you're right. We'll go over there too. We'll support this trip. We'll give you the money. And you guys go do your thing exploring the New World. And we'll go do our thing converting these native Texans to Catholicism. And along with that, they were bringing in money for the church. And just to recap this, the three G's of exploration of Spanish exploration are gold, glory, and God. Now this wraps up our 5.2 Spanish exploration video lesson. This is Coach Signs signing out. Rest in peace, Harambe.